In the next One Piece, Akainu's magma is ineffective against Shanks' sword.
His sword or his giant swinging cock, Joel? His massive fucking sausage. His rolled up meat snake.
Wow, you were really going all in. Do you have a thing for Shanks? Is that what's going on? You seem a little transfixed.
King of the Wetnow's gonna take you down, gonna take you down. Marineford Arc, yeah, it's getting hot now. It's getting hot now. King of the Wetnow's gonna take you down, gonna take you down. Marineford Arc, yeah, it's getting hot now. It's getting hot now. We've got a multi-act season, 1, 2, 3. So come aboard to brave the sea. Supernovas and mystery. Warlords, wars, and tragedy. King of the Wetnow's gonna take you down. Gonna take you down. Marineford Arc, yeah, it's getting hot now. It's getting hot now.
Celestial dragons, lowest of low. Overwhelming enemies, it's time to go. Luffy's gonna fight for his big bro, so now it's time to start the show. Hello, fellow adventurers of the Grand Line, and welcome to episode 110 of King of the What Now, a One Piece podcast reviewing the anime from the very beginning. As always, I'm your host, Joel, here today to cry so hard I change history. And joining me, as always, is my co-host.
Yes, I'm Kat. I'm the ghost of the show. And I was stabbed and shot like 50 bajillion times. And look at me go. I died on my own 2 feet. Incredible.
Your back's still really shiny, though.
My back is so shiny.
Unblemished.
Nobody got me while I was running away. Because I don't do that.
Absolutely. And just like last week, we have a special guest. So, Franz, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Franz, and I'm here to just show up right at the end and then say, hey, it's all finished, so bye now.
End of podcast. We did
No
it.
more war, I'm calling it quits.
No more podcast. This is it. Finished.
Franz, where are you from?
I'm from the Void, also known as Florida, and in my Florida hellhole, I don't live there currently, but I co-host a podcast. If you've heard this in chronological order, which I'm going to assume you have, if you haven't, no judgment, no judgment. But the previous episode, my co-host, John, also from ParameciaCast, he showed up and did, this whole shebang with y'all. So now it is my turn. It was last episode, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like a tag team match where he just, he had enough of us and our dumb jokes, and so he's like, I need to tag out, and now we have Franz to temporarily fill the space.
It's quite the opposite, actually. He couldn't get enough of y'all and your jokes, so I'm coming here as John's proxy.
You are John's emissary, if you will.
Exactly. I am the herald of Johnness, here to let you know about John and One Piece, but mostly about John.
One Piece?
The classic joke. 10 out of 10. It never gets old.
So listen, when we have a new guest on the show, we're always going to ask them the same question. And since it is your first time, Franz, could you just tell us which of the Straw Hats is your favorite, and maybe kind of like why?
So, coming completely out the gate, I will say that I am a bit of a prude. Realistically, I don't necessarily enjoy raunchy humor, raunchy people, etc. That being said, I think Frankie is my favorite.
Okay.
He is a bastard. He is a massive pervert. And yet, at the end of the day, he is like so unabashedly himself that I have no choice but to stan, as the kids say.
Absolutely. I think it's great that, they tried to put pants on that man, and he said, no, I will live my pantsless life, and if other people don't like it, they can look elsewhere.
Yeah, he's living his truth, as some might say, and that truth is, Hawaiian shirt and just, Speedo and nothing else. That's all you need.
Honestly, those are like, what's it called? The Maslow's hierarchy of needs or something like that?
Yes.
Oh, wow. I actually got it on the... Hey!
Good job, Franz.
I went to school once. Yeah, so the hierarchy of needs... At the bottom, at the absolute bottom. No, the whole thing. Okay. The bottom is Speedo. The top half is Hawaiian shirt.
Okay.
That's how it works out.
Where does cola fall in the hierarchy of needs?
Okay, cola might be the bottom because he literally needs it to live.
Okay. But right above that.
He is cola powered. Right above that Speedo, then right above that Hawaiian shirt.
Absolutely.
I did see a tweet today out there talking about how Frankie could literally Baja Blast someone, and I admire that.
I also saw that tweet from Grant the Thief, and
that's who it was.
I saw people in the replies threatening to draw this, and I'm very excited to see all of the potential fan art of Frankie with his Baja Blast accessories or attacks. Now, I have a quick question for you, not really on topic.
Oh.
You said at the beginning of your explanation of why Frankie is your favorite that you're not a big fan of raunchy humor.
Right.
And so I thought the whole horny scaling chart that we did with you guys on your episode was your idea, but was that all John?
No. It was my idea. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm okay. I don't indulge in these things. Like, it's not... How do I...
It's not in your day-to-day life.
No, like, as a baseline, I am unhorny, uninterested in horny. Like, that is my complete baseline. Like, maybe you could argue that is normal of people. I would argue that I am even more so than that.
Okay.
And so, the whole, like, horny as a joke is okay. Horny jokes are not okay. You feel me?
Yes, I do, actually, because I am the exact same way. So I'm vibing with what you're saying. I just had to ask because I kind of try to tailor my interactions to the person. And I was like, this whole time I've known Paramecia, I have made all sorts of like over-the-top jokes and comments because I thought that was the sense of humor we were going for. So I had to check.
Oh, yeah, no. Lovely. Absolutely lovely. Again.
Oh, man.
Yeah, no. We've clarified it. It's all horny as a joke. That's what it is.
Excellent, but not jokingly horny.
Oof, that's real bad.
So, inside baseball, for anyone listening, usually when these episodes, they have a name, the War for Ace Begins was episode 107. I usually just pick that title before we actually start recording the episode, but I was drawing a blank today, so I was like, I don't know what I'm going to call episode 110, but I think that this might be KotWN is horny as a joke. And I think that's what we're going to call it, and I don't think that anyone is going to know anything about what this episode is about. They're just going to see that title.
You know what's delightful? Since we started putting these episodes up on YouTube, my grandpa starts listening to them.
Oh.
So he's going to see horny as a joke, and he's going to have some thoughts, perhaps. He called me the other day.
I'm a good Catholic boy. I go to I'm going to church tonight. Like, I'm good.
Oh,
I promise.
Gosh, yeah. Shout out to my grandpa, Papa. We love you. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, what did he say, though?
Oh, yeah, I was going to explain. He called me, and he goes, I really love listening to your show. You and Joel are really funny. They should put you on TV. Now, I didn't clarify who they is, but I appreciate the faith in us, because I don't know that I could go on TV.
See, like, we're in different times. Grandpa, if you're listening, TV is not the accolade that it once was. Nowadays, it's all about being an influencer, and that just involves your Twitters, your Instagrams, and all that. That's where the visibility comes from. I don't know of any TV celebrities anymore.
No, I can't remember the last time I watched TV, to be honest. I think the only, big TV name that I still know is Ellen, and her show's going down.
Ellen DeGenerate.
The way I said,
oh, how the mighty have fallen.
The way I said that sounded like I personally was going to take down
Ellen, I'm coming for you.
Now,
right.
Joel, we usually start out these episodes with chatting with the hosts. So, Franz, for you, that's just, a quick, what have you been reading, watching, or listening to?
Oh, boy. It's really funny because, sometimes I just don't consume media, and sometimes I just forget what I'm doing, flat out. Everything that happened this last month, whew. What I've been doing is I've been rewatching Star Wars.
Okay.
From, doing it in, number order, not, release order. And not that, whole, first you do 1, 2, and then 4, 5, 6, and then 3, and then...
You're not hatcheting it, or macheting it, I think is what they call it.
Yeah, that's what it's called. And so, no, I'm not doing any of that. And I'm subjecting my wife to this for fun because I like to bring her pain. And this week will be episode 5, so we're doing it, once a week, so we don't, drown ourselves in it, but... This short-term exposure to Star Wars has infiltrated our lives to the point that we've just looked at each other constantly. We're just do it, do it.
I love it. Unrelated, I'm not a huge Star Wars head, but I have been recently quoting and misappropriating the "from a certain point of view, it's the Jedi that are evil," just an everyday conversation. So that's an aligning of the stars right there.
From a certain perspective, you should look at my balls.
No. Oh, no. That's the paramecia energy starting to coming out.
Oh, man. Kat made a solemn promise, I believe, that every single time she's on mic with either of you two, that she's going to always bring up titty in some direction, I think. Is that what you said last week?
Oh, no. I don't think it was a solemn
I believe that was
promise.
The claim.
Oh,
but
no,
yes, it was specifically Cool Ranch Dorito Jinbei's big ol', honkers.
Excellent.
He does have big ol' honka-da-ba-dunk-gonka-donks.
Bazongaroos.
Yeah. Dan, Nikki, you're bobbies.
Absolutely. Joel, have you been reading, watching, listening to anything in the last week?
I've discovered a YouTuber named, I believe it's Jay Exci is how you pronounce it. There will be a link in the description if you haven't heard of them. They do several different types of videos, but the one that I found was a 5-hour synopsis of why Doctor Who seasons 12 and 11 were not as good as all the other seasons before it. 11 and 12 from the new series, not Classic Who. And it's fascinating to listen to them talk about what makes the Doctor good in most seasons and how the writers of these 2 seasons just completely miss the mark on that. And
I'm really interested in that because I stopped watching Doctor Who basically around that time because of my frustration with the writing and everything in it. So I won't go back and start watching again, but I do love spreading my butt cheeks and taking a dump on Doctor Who.
I wasn't sure where that was going, to be honest with you. But yeah.
Hey, it was a bad thing to say, but I'm trying to pull back and not like use all the expletives that usually go with that.
It's okay. If you have to go in a butt cheek direction, I totally get it.
Oh, thank you.
I went through a weird cycle with Doctor Who because I started out at like 16 being like, haha, British sci-fi, cheesy and bad and dumb. And I had a friend who really loved it and was like heartbroken that I was constantly making fun of it. And then I went to college and I met Joel, and Joel was like, no, there's actually this cool, sneaky bad wolf thing. And I was like, wolves are cool. I'll watch this season with you. And so I got into it.
That's what got you?
Yeah, no, that's what got me into it. So I watched it and I got into it for a while. And this friend was like, you can't quote my favorite scenes at me when you made fun of it for years.
I caused emotional damages.
I did. No, that person blocked me on Facebook eventually.
Wow.
So I just was not a good friend to them, I guess. But, and then we got to like the Peter Capaldi stuff and I resumed making fun of Doctor Who. I was like, we're all done with this. I have outgrown my Doctor Who phase officially.
See, I, on the same like tangent of like, spreading butt cheeks and taking a dump on Doctor Who, H Bomber guy,
yes,
Harris, excellent videos on like why Stephen Moffat is an absolute terrible writer. I believe most of his discussion was in, I don't remember if he did a video about Doctor Who, but he definitely did one on Sherlock.
Yes. You want to know something really funny? That's actually what I shouted out last week was H Bomber Guy's newest video with John. And yeah.
It was excellent. Love that guy.
Yeah, my favorite kind of my favorite Tumblr post that I feel captures the spirit of Stephen Moffat's Doctor Who is a Doctor Who special written by Stephen Moffat. A sexy assistant. Doctor, thing. The Doctor, but that impossible. Sexy assistant, but Doctor, it happened. The Happen of the Doctor by Stephen Moffat.
It's so unfortunate that is literally like every episode after like the Eccleston Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like there was some good moments with Tennant too, but like the like later Tennant era stuff, like Moffat just had his crusty grip all over the franchise.
Didn't he also ruin Supernatural for a while?
I don't believe so.
It was Sherlock.
Okay, I knew he
Supernatural's American.
I knew he was involved in Sherlock too, but there were similar writing issues across the whole like Super Who-lock fandom. And so I just assumed Moffat had somehow gotten his grubby little fingers into all of it.
One man controls it all.
Yeah.
All of Tumblr is his.
Oh no.
Well, all right. Catherine, have you been reading, watching, listening to anything in particular this last week?
Continuing my read through of the Grishaverse, still real good. I am approaching pain, so I've kind of slowed down my reading a little bit because I know it's coming and I don't want it, but I am excited to get to the next duology, which I think is the King of Wolves duology, but I don't know for sure that that's the name of it. And then I've also watched more of the show, and I'm still mostly unimpressed with the show, but I think that it is approaching good, and I think season 2 might be good. So we've got like 3 episodes left in season 1 of Shadow and Bone. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've been doing.
Excellent.
Look at me, I kept my thoughts brief for once.
And here I am about to drag us back in. How could I possibly forget? So something that I've been listening to recently is an album that I've been looking forward to just came out. It's Ordinary Life by We Are the Union.
Yes! Oh my gosh, all their singles have been so good.
They've been so good. So I'm good friends with their bassist, Jeremy. And I keep tabs on Jeremy. Jeremy's absolutely talented. I love them for everything they do. And the fact that they were like all releasing an album like so soon, all about their singer Reade and her like coming to terms with her being trans, and this she just came out like specifically for this album, and it's like me also being trans, they them by the way, oops, like I like this just hit different. So I'm so glad the album, like, it just came out very recently, the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So I've been listening to that, too.
Well, really
Sorry
quick.
To interject.
So we record these episodes in advance, so I was just checking my notes, and I wanted to do, like, a little, like, oh, by the way, Happy Pride, since we're on the subject, right? This episode comes out on the 1st of July, so one day after Pride is over. You're no longer allowed to be proud, whoever you are.
Get rid of the rainbow logo. We must immediately go back to blacks and grays.
Hello, I am corporation. Pride is now terminated.
Yes, but no.
Proceed heterosexuality.
I really loved the way that it's Reade, right? Is her name?
Yeah,
I really love how she incorporated kind of her coming out story into her music. I thought that was really neat. And the whole, like, zombies as a metaphor for transness and, like, rebirth or coming back to life. Like, it was very cool.
Like, the whole thing was really good. They have a couple of music videos that are tied to singles from the album. Another one is Boys Will Be Girls, I think was the second music video that they did. Mm-hmm. And the whole thing like involved like, oh, like you're assigned this gender, so like a machine assigns you like some juice that you drink and it's your juice and you can't trade it, or you can't have someone else's juice, and there's only blue juice and pink juice. It's really on the nose, but at some point like they break the machine and it starts like pouring out like yellow and like orange, and like people are like, yeah, look at this. And like I really love the whole like what gender is yellow? Who cares? Doesn't matter.
Give me that juice.
I sent Jeremy a meme that was like living in my mind throughout like the week that music video came out, and it's like this like really, really ancient screenshot from one of the Sonic Archie comics.
Okay.
And someone like went over it and like just completely like redid the word bubbles and made it say like it's like one character just being like, oh dang, like, oh shit, this juice is banging, yo. And then the other character just replies, it's paint, asshole. Because the whole video is just them drinking acrylic paint, basically.
Oh no. Please do not drink acrylic paint, or drink it responsibly. I'm not sure which.
Yeah, no artists were harmed in the making of this video, or, you know, that sort of thing.
Probably.
Oh man. So we try to keep this section a little bit short. I think it's time to wrap up. But sure. If you haven't heard the sports rap from Rustage, check that out. It'll be linked in the description. I really like it. And Franz, I'll send it to you in case it's your jam. It might not be. But
I'm not aware of it, but I'm very, very happy to indulge in that.
It's a rap cipher about sports anime, so, you know. It's exactly what it sounds like. Joel, do you want to hit us with that sweet, sweet succinct summary?
Yes. We just finished watching episodes 481 through 489, the end of the Marineford arc. And a lot happens. These episodes are nutritionally dense with twists and turns. So I have a very succinct summary, and all of these are bullet points, and they're all we're going to have to talk about them.
I love this.
Here's how it goes. Ace is free. Ace is dead. Whitebeard versus Akainu. Blackbeard is here. Whitebeard is dead. Blackbeard sold Whitebeard's fruit. Luffy is pursued by Akainu. Kobe speaks out against the Marines. Shanks arrives.
War's over.
Yeah, that's true. And that's been your super, super succinct summary for this week.
That was the most, a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
I said, I think that was the most succinct summary in the history of our show. You have just beaten that. Congratulations, we are finally succinct.
By shedding complete sentence structure. We have made it more efficient.
Absolutely. So Franz...
That's what it is. That's what it's all about, baby. It's capitalism.
Just create content nonstop. Oh, you know what? Not even create. You got to use the word produce. Produce content.
Engage with consumer.
Franz, as our guest, I will let you go first. Did you like these episodes?
So... in Inside Baseball, John and I had like a choice of what reach of episodes we had to cover, and I chose these specifically because I really enjoy this whole segment. So like a lot of people remember it because this is when Ace dies and this is when Whitebeard dies, but like I really enjoy this whole end of the Marineford arc because it is the end of an era, and I absolutely love that.
Yeah, for sure. Doffy really hit it on the head a couple of episodes ago when he was talking about justice will prevail. Of course it will. And here we see what shape that justice will take.
It's funny, too, because neither side really won in the end. Like, yes, Ace is dead, but also the Marines were kind of caught on camera just committing murder of fleeing people for the fun of it. So, which side is justice? Where is the public gonna land? It's hard to say.
There's so much that, like, really goes into that. Like, Oda is very precise with how he shows justice and what justice means to several people, to the point where, so in the Marineford HQ, like inside they'll have like like traditional Japanese rooms, they'll have like calligraphy like up in like a specific corner, and what'll happen is that like that will be like an emblematic like motto, so to speak. And so the Marines motto is like absolute justice. But Oda has gone on paper and defined like a lot of people's individual sense of justice. So he's gone on paper to talk about a lot of these things, and the word justice being so important to that and taking on its own different meaning, I think is fantastic.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I brought up the example a couple of episodes ago of Pirate Warriors 3 defining it as like, I think it's lazy justice, hazy justice, and absolute justice for the three admirals.
Right.
And like, yeah, no, that speaks volumes about their characters.
It really does. Well, and the thing I like about Oda, too, is that he has this fantastical world, but it's very much rooted in real-world issues and social structures. And so you do have people who define justice differently in the real world. And so you watch this as a viewer, and at least for me, I can feel this happening. I can see, like, okay, that guy would be a terrible leader, but we have leaders like him.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
It makes it like hit harder.
Yes. I think one of my favorite posts that I've seen about One Piece, specifically about whether or not One Piece is political, which I think is an argument people are going to keep having till the end of time, but they talked about how Luffy's goal is to become a king. And so everyone he comes up against, he has to prove that his philosophy for leading, for being a leader, is better than theirs. And I just thought that was a really interesting way to conceptualize his fights. We've talked on King of the What Now before about how we think that it's a difference of philosophy. Like every fight is bringing Luffy's philosophy up against someone else's.
Yeah, it definitely tracks. Because there, even from like the beginning, there's always been this whole like everyone shows that like, oh, like, you know, pirates are also pretty bad, but from the get-go there was the blonde guy's dad with the axe,
Axe Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
Right. He absolute tyrant in his whole place, an absolute ass. And so we've always had examples, and at around the same time, there was also Alvida, an absolute tyrant, terrible person. Both of them, it never mattered like whether they were Marine or pirate, they were just bad people.
Mm-hmm. And you can kind of hold Luffy and Kobe up against them as examples of what these different groups could be.
Right.
Absolutely. So, Kat, do you want to give your official weigh-in on whether you like these episodes?
Yeah, I like these episodes a lot. These episodes almost felt... How do I put this? Last week's episodes were just nonstop wild stuff happening, right? It was very exciting. And then these episodes were also nonstop, but it was kind of like nonstop dread. Like, oh no, things are bad. Oh no, things are getting worse. Oh gosh, they're worse than that. But at the same time, we got so much new information and so many reveals and so much cool stuff happening that I really do love these episodes. And Shanks showed up. And I just cannot get over how much I love this man. This anime husband. Like, him and his entire crew are just so cool, and I want so badly to know what his deal is. Like, he can just show up places and say, no, we're done now. And everyone's like, okay. Imagine having that kind of power.
No kidding. Like, at the end of it all, like, Sengoku was just like, if it's you specifically red hair Shanks, I will, like, bend.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but what's very interesting to me is that it doesn't seem to be, like, out of power, so to speak. Like, he has proven himself to be a powerful individual in, like, blocking Akainu's attacks, whatever. It's not about that. It's just, he has some sway. And far later than the scope of everything that's happened now, there are other moments where, like, Shanks is like this mysterious individual who just has something, either for or against the world government, but it's so interesting.
Absolutely.
You can tell that he really internalized, like, if there's a special juice to Roger becoming king of the pirates, if he had a specific philosophy, you can tell that it rubbed off on Shanks, and Shanks took it to heart, and he used that to become a great pirate. Whereas Buggy, I don't know, he was not listening when Roger was explaining his philosophy or something.
Buggy was there, and not much else.
Buggy and Shanks have a beautiful relationship, though. Even as adults, I love their interactions.
It's so like, I don't watch the anime, like, whatsoever, and seeing, like, I don't know if I enjoyed watching the anime versus reading the manga, but there were moments that really shone for me specifically as being viewed through the anime. And, like, when Buggy and Shanks were, like, talking about, like, basically the good old days, at some point Buggy, like, oh my god, what's that word in English? When you, like, pretend to be someone.
Impersonates?
Like, yeah, he impersonates, like, Shank, like, after Shank was like, oh, really? And then basically Buggy just turns around and is like, why are you, like, acting all like, oh, really? And then just, like, makes the same face as Shanks. 10 out of 10.
Brothers.
Love it.
Yeah.
They are fantastic brothers, yes. Well, and, you know how sometimes you have, like, the family dog, right? And maybe the family dog chewed your shoes or peed on the carpet, but you still kind of look at it fondly and you're like, oh, you rascal. That's Shanks looking at Buggy.
You know, can't argue against that. Not at all.
Oh, man. So, if we go back to the the list, the bullet points that I had. Ace was free. That was pretty cool. That was nice. That lasted all of like one episode. But I do want to shout out, I love that even though Ace and Luffy have not been like together and fighting as a team for, I don't know, however long ago it was that Ace left the island, but they still are totally in sync with each other and like jumping off of each other and bantering back and forth as they attack the Marines. And I really like that.
It was like 10 years of them being apart or something. And the fact that they just got straight back into it, chef kiss.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Franz, do you have siblings?
I do. I have an older sister and a younger brother.
Okay. So maybe you can relate to this, but when my younger sister and I are in a room together, Joel likes to joke that whatever brain cells we had separately just kind of fuse into a single brain cell. And we fall back in the same patterns that we've had our whole lives, like immediately. That's just the sibling experience, I think. And so I just love seeing it.
My family has a very different dynamic. And so we're all cut from the same cloth. Like literally, like all three of us are like writers to some capacity. And this wasn't like, you know, I was in marching band. I didn't like prop myself up to be a writer in some capacity, but I'm the only one without an English major. But I majored in a different language, so you know what? Screw y'all. But the one thing about my family is that I think my sister took all the brain cells.
Okay.
Like, it might be because she's, like, markedly older than me, but I'm pretty sure she took all the dang brain cells.
Oh, no. It's funny. I actually think my younger siblings might say the same thing about me. I'm pretty significantly older than them. I'm 7 years older than my youngest sibling. So we've got that age gap, too. But I don't know. Something about being in the same room. Like, I just lose my mind. Joel doesn't like to go out in public with us because we're very loud and embarrassing.
I mean, it's just different. The introvert and the extrovert, you know?
Yeah, it's the Ace Luffy vibes. Funny to watch in pirate anime, and maybe less funny to experience them burning down an Applebee's.
Yeah, especially if I'm in the Applebee's, just trying to have some, you know, a meal of bees for dinner.
So you're admitting to having burnt down an Applebee's. I'm actually a special agent, so this is, you know, this isn't considered a wiretap, so, sorry, you're busted. We got you.
Oh, darn. They got me for my bee crimes.
Oh, lordy. So, Ace gets free with help from Mr. 3, although that happened at the very end of the last episode, so we already saw that happening. We find out that Mr. 3 did it because he felt indebted to Mr. 2, or he was moved by Mr. 2's compassion and friendship. And then as they're getting away, Akainu basically starts making yo daddy jokes, and Ace has to kind of stop and be like, what'd you say about Whitebeard? And we learned something new and interesting. Fire can't burn magma. Which I believe that Kat, in episode 107, you cheekily alluded to it without actually saying it outright. But Ace is unable to fight Akainu. And then Luffy, in a moment of weakness, because the energy hormones wear off eventually, they're just tricking your body, he kind of is paralyzed, he's on the ground, he's not moving very quickly, and Akainu's like, I'm gonna kill him. Ace jumps in the way, intercepts the fist, and unfortunately
with his chest.
Away. Yep.
So I actually think this scene was very cool for Ace specifically, because this whole arc, Ace has been sitting up on the scaffold, crying, thinking about, you know, do I deserve to live? Do I deserve all of these people fighting and dying for me? And he finally gets free and gets to fight for himself. And he dies, but it's a death that he chose. He got to die protecting a person who was important to him. And at the end of the day, that gave his life meaning. Garp told him, do you deserve to live? Or did you deserve to be born? That's something you'll find out as you live. This was how he found out, through protecting Luffy.
It's really... It really harkens to like the title of the episode where it happens. Unlike the manga, in the manga, it was straight up just... it was terrible. The manga chapter was called Portgas de Ace Dies. That's it. Oh. Nothing else. It's like...
Thanks, Oda.
Man.
Thanks, bud. But in the anime, it's called Looking for an Answer. Fire Fist Ace dies on the battlefield. But... Him dying was him finding his answer. Is it a shame that he had to die for that? Yes, but at the end of the day, he did get the answer to, like, does my life have meaning?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it is... I've mentioned before that this is, like, considered the halfway point in the anime, and that's for a couple of different reasons, but you've never really had a named character die in the main timeline. You thought Pell died, but he survived the explosion. There's a couple of other people, right? Bon-chan at this point seems to be dead, but maybe that's not the case. We'll find out later. But Ace is the first major death to happen in the present, not in a flashback, and it happens after Luffy swore that he would save Ace. And in a cruel twist of irony, Luffy technically did accomplish what he set out to do. Ace was free to choose to get himself killed protecting Luffy. But it's still, it's this huge moment, and it's really a turning point, and it's kind of one of the only times you can really point at Luffy and say, like, he's getting character development from this, because for the most part, it's just been wacky pirate adventure. I'll just punch a little harder. So that's all I have to really say about that. I've gone on record saying that I'm not really the emotional type. People were talking about the death of Mary the ship a couple of days ago because it was the anniversary, and I was just kind of like, I've never cried when I watched that scene. It's sad. I know it's sad, but I don't necessarily feel as sad. So Ace passing, it does make me incredibly sad, and it does bum me out, but it also it doesn't hit me the same way that it hits a lot of other people.
You know what bums me out more than his actual death?
What's that?
The opening for these episodes.
Yeah, that hurt.
Right? I listen to this opening, and every time I start to think about, does life matter? Do any of us matter? Does anything have meaning? And it's just so melancholy that it drags me down. They're emotionally priming me to be sad over what happens in these episodes, and I'm not on board with it.
The whole opening is just Luffy finally meeting Ace and smiling like ear to ear. And this whole like set of episodes is Luffy like unconscious having witnessed the death of his brother.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a like the whole thing is whiplash, and I hate it.
Absolutely, yes. I did have a moment when, during that scene, after the actual death and Ace's speech, which were very emotionally resonant, where Luffy was like, hey, Ace, you're fine, right? Ace, get up. And I started laughing because it reminded me so much of the Simba Mufasa scene, where Simba's like, Dad, get up. It's not funny, but it's somehow the connection is making me laugh.
Oh, man. I do love, too, that Oda kind of gives us an abbreviated version of the 5 stages of grief. You don't get, I don't remember all 5 stages off the top of my head, but you definitely get bargaining when Luffy's like, hey, Ivan, can you use hormones to heal the giant hole in his chest? And you definitely get, passing out from, like, desperation or sorrow or whatever, but... No, you can see Luffy's brain trying to crunch the numbers, to use computer science terms, and then he just he blue screens because this is more than his brain can handle.
Yeah.
And only a couple of days after he lost his crew. Like, come on, man.
Yeah,
stroke of bad luck.
That was hard
He's
enough,
really
but
going
now there's
through
this. Yeah. Maybe on that crew of doctors that rescued him, they've got a psychiatrist.
No, Law's not the kind of... He's got no bedside manners. I mean, there was like a... very literally, it was like, oh, do they need what's it called? It's not anesthetics. It's...
anesthetic.
Anesthetics. Thank you. And Law just straight up says, no, they're already in so much pain, they're not going to feel anything else. It's like, what?
Honestly, like, what a great realistic depiction of some doctors, though. Oh, man. I came to this realization, and it's so obvious. It should have occurred to me years ago, but Law is such a hot topic teen.
Oh, yeah.
Like, dad issues, wearing the all black, listening to Megadeth or whatever the kids are
knuckle tats
nowadays.
That say death, always flipping everyone off.
No, like, Law is who I was in high school.
And that's why so many people love him.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think we all have a soft spot for the emo part of our youth.
Yeah.
So, but we didn't mention that in the succinct summary, by the way. So all of you out there listening, if you didn't actually watch the episodes, Law did show up at the end in his yellow submarine that he has. I want to know why nobody else in this universe has never thought of using a submarine. That seems obvious. But he shows up in his submarine. He's like, hey, Buggy, put Straw Hat on the ship. And Buggy's like, F you. Why would I do that? And Law's like, because I told you to. And Buggy's like, yeah, okay, have the Straw Hat, man. And then Law leaves with Jinbei and Luffy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, the only thing I was wishing that like would happen is like slight spoiler for like I think 1 or 2 episodes ahead of this, but like there's like a very like touching moment between Jinbei and Luffy, because like Luffy needs like a transfusion or something, and like Jinbei like comes up as a donor, and like it's like so symbolically touching.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If drinking from a shared cup of sake makes you brothers, then what does sharing your blood make you?
They're the same person.
You're married legally in the One Piece world.
Now it is Luffy with the big f***ing tits.
Oh no. He did get the good hormones from Ivan.
Those good hormones.
Yeah, when when John was on last week, John had a whole bit about how Luffy was getting the top shelf hormones, and that's how easy it should be to get hormones in this country. You should go to Ivankov and say, stick me with the good stuff, and that should be the end of it.
It's really funny because, like, one of the first guests John and I had was Joe from We Are! Open parenthetical, watching One Piece, close parenthetical, another anime podcast that, and like Joe's also trans, any and all pronouns, and we were talking about how it's like that's not necessarily how hormones work, but it's like such an idealized version that, like, you know what, who cares? Who cares? If that were how it was, yeah, baby, just stick me with the thing and like boobas.
I can be whatever I wish to be. My only question is, does Ivankov have the Catboy hormones? Can he stick Luffy and have Luffy grow the ears and the tail and the fur? Because I'm all about that.
Oh, it would be interesting if like each of the different fingers were like different hormones. And it's like the Catboy hormone, the Femboy hormone.
Oh no, legend has it that if Ivan sticks you with all of them at once,
you become Doflamingo Don Quixote.
Well, I mean, that's what he did to Luffy, and that's why Luffy's like such a special boy now.
Oh no. Oh man, Ivan is so cool. Like, I know this episode is technically airing one day after Pride Month ends, but happy Pride. Ivan Koff is a treasure.
Ivan Koff is like, the whole thing about like Oda basically using a homophobic slur as like a setting, it was a huge misstep. And to certain degrees, it was like somewhat understandable for the time, because it was like Alabasta was written in like 1997 or something. And like, mind you, like Japan is very regressive, like when it comes to like LGBT stuff, to the point where like my local bank is like one of the only in the country, like starting like this month, it is one of the only in the country that will give loans to same-sex partners.
Oh, wow.
Like,
jeez Louise.
Dear listener, if you think that Japan is a bastion of liberalism, you're sorely incorrect. Like, Japan has its own issues, and like it shows a lot in like Oda's writing if you know what to look for. And so like this whole Okama stuff, terrible, like it shouldn't have been done, but him trying to course correct with like Ivankov, they're part of the revolutionaries, like Ivankov's a very important character, this and that, the attempt at like understanding like transness and trying to include trans, or at least like what Ivankov and the scissor guy that lives in Ivankov's hair,
Inazuma.
Both of them are like the term would be now gender non-conforming, or like even non-binary. There's in him not really understanding gender and transness, he has inadvertently created and like put in these like more advanced modes of gender that are like well beyond what I'm sure he understands.
Absolutely. Well, and Ivan had a quote when he showed up that was 2 mothers and 1 daughter. What's wrong with that? Right? And so Oda did base Ivan off of a good friend of his. Oh. And so I think that he always meant for Ivan to be a positive character.
For sure.
And just didn't know how. Like you said, Japan is very regressive, and it's something that people are still working on.
I mean, same thing with Bon Clay. Bon Clay is like anyone who any person who knows about this stuff and like has consumed like all of One Piece, or like even up until now, will agree that like Bon Clay is like the best character, full stop, and deserves absolutely everything. And you know, despite all of his mistakes, having someone still written as well as Bon Clay, like not even just like him being like a fleshed out character, but having his whole like gender stuff fleshed out, is remarkable. It's clumsy, but still surprisingly well done for 2020 standards.
For sure, yeah. And I love how none of the main characters are ever like over the top disgusted by it, and it's never made a joke. Like, that's just their buddy Bon Clay. That's who Bon Clay is.
Yeah. And that's all it really has to be, folks. And it's so cool to see that happen in One Piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know how we ended up on a praise Ivan Chan tangent, but I just, gosh, I love seeing mangaka grow, and I think even in the most recent arc, no spoilers, or no specific spoilers, I guess, but Oda has gotten so much better that you can tell he's really taking a lot of fan reaction to heart, and I think that's cool.
Yeah, no kidding. Bon Clay walked so that a lot of the characters now can run and sprint. And it's getting to the point where Oda's understanding of these things, like, you know, we don't know the guy, but from his writing, it seems to be that his understanding of these things is getting so far ahead that he's leaving the community in the dust.
Yes, Oda's moved beyond discourse.
No kidding. Now all you have is like all the fanboys just
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I look forward to the day when we get to the point where I can say, yeah, as a he, obviously, on the podcast and have a bunch of people really upset, and I will stand my ground. I will die on that hill.
You gotta bleep out that name, though, because spoilers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Maybe I'll just bleep out that entire part. You know, I can't wait till we get to beep, and people will get mad at me and I'll die on that hill.
There you go. The important thing is that King of the What Now's official stance remains trans rights.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the easiest thing in the world. Treat people like people.
Yeah, that's all it's got to be, folks. No one's asking you to understand or become like one of these. I sound so flippant, but like you don't got to be a gender scientist or none of that kind of stuff. There are people who study this stuff, and that kind of study is important, as all kind of study is. But you don't have to do that. You just got to be like, all right, cool. That's all it's got to be.
You could just be normal. I think I told this story on the podcast before, but my mom has recently sort of adopted one of my sister's friends who is non-binary. Mm-hmm. And so my mom was talking about something related to that, right? And she goes, you should just be treated well, whether you're a man or a woman or... And then there was a long pause, and she was like, or a they, them. I was like, bless you, Mom. You've got the spirit.
Exactly.
You're trying
That's
your
what
best.
Counts. That's what counts.
Yeah. Really quick, my last thought. My favorite one to, you know, I don't support gay marriage. Well, it's not like we're going to make you marry someone of the same, you know, sex or gender. And then why should I support trans people? We're not going to make you trans. We're not going to hit you with the rays that, you know, changes your brain chemistry. It's fine.
Yet.
Well, Joel and I aren't, but as neither of us are trans ourselves, we can't speak for the community.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I am the community.
I am the mono-trans. It's like the mono-myth, you see.
The Palpatine voice, I love democracy.
The hero of 1,000 genders, right? That would be what the mono-trans would be.
Getting back to these episodes, we did get some new characters.
Yeah, we absolutely did. Blackbeard is here, and he's brought a crew. We see that he still has, you know, Lafitte, Burgess, Doc Q, Von Augur. Shiryu is here, Shiryu of the Rain, as well as 4 other people who, many of which were name-dropped earlier in the Impel Down arc. You have the biggest of all living things, San Juan Wolf, a.k.a. Great Battleship. You have Corrupt King, Avalo Pizarro, the only one whose name I'm not completely certain on, Heavy Drinker, Vasco Shot, and Crescent Moon Hunter, Katarina Devon. What's everyone's thoughts on these characters?
I want to know what Avalo Pizarro's deal is.
The Corrupt King?
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you think maybe he just killed some of his subjects?
It's gotta be more than that. People
Without
kill their
doubt.
subjects every day.
Like, you know, Wapol back in Drum Kingdom. Corrupt King too, but no one calls him Corrupt King. Like, for this guy to have been named Corrupt King must have done some messed up stuff.
Yeah, like he was drinking blood or something. Like the blood of his subjects. Although, honestly, that seems like a trait that Oda would give to a female character more likely than...
Yeah, true. It could be... I honestly could see something... Katarina Devon doing that, honestly. Because, like,
yeah,
that... Like, Oda would have the precedence of, like, the whole, like, drinking, bathing blood, whatever. Something woman blood. with the whole not Carmilla. Oh my god, I'm getting my fake anime history getting mixed up with my real history. Elizabeth Bathory.
Yes.
She was a real ? Like princess or something who like rumored to have bathed in blood all the time.
Mm-hmm. She bathed in the blood of maidens because she thought it would make her younger.
Right.
Wait, is this like the 1700 version of QAnon? Did we just stumble upon this?
Oh,
yes, the adrenochrome in the blood.
So Joel,
yeah.
What you've done just now is you saw a hornet's nest hanging up on a tree, and you thought, I'm just gonna fist it, and I'm gonna respectfully request that you withdraw your fist and perhaps walk at a swift pace away from that nest.
Listen, I have learned from Paragon of Justice Akainu that you can just fist all of your problems away. Is that not the case?
No.
Not in this world.
I think that the most interesting of these 4 new characters is the San Juan Wolf character, because they're literally described as the biggest of all living things. And he's literally so big, he's like peeking behind the Tower of Justice. And I just think that it's amazing that we just got introduced to Ors Jr. a couple episodes ago, and a couple arcs ago.
And he's pretty big.
Yeah, he's so big he makes giants look like normal-sized people. But San Juan Wolf is big enough to make Ors Jr. look like normal-sized people.
Yeah, something about San Juan Wolf just vibes for me. Like, I don't know what it is. He freaks me out. He's terrifying. I think it's because his face is too small for his body. But,
I mean,
his
face looked like nuts. Like, not to get too blue, but like, those are some testes right there.
The Peter Griffin, should we censor those?
Yeah. Oh no. And I liked that he was like obviously trying to hide but can't. Like, are you used to being smaller, sir?
Well, and you brought up a good point while we were watching, between you and me, Kat, that how did they get this creature into Impel Down, and how did Blackbeard get him out if he's truly this big? He seems like he would break Impel Down.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so it's not necessarily mentioned anywhere. It's like mentioned in like trivia media. It might have been brought up in Oda's like Ask the Mangaka Corner, the SBSs that come out in the volumes. But San Juan Wolf is a giant, but he's clearly much bigger than giants that we've seen, including Ors and Ors Jr. And that's because he's eaten some sort of big fruit, basically.
Okay.
And he's big enough to just stand on the ocean floor.
Oh, wow.
Like, because he's a giant who ate this, it scales up so much more.
Oh, boy.
Okay. So that's very exciting. And they must have shrunk him down. And then once he got out, he was able to enlarge back to his normal size.
Wait, I've got a really terrible joke.
Oh, no.
If you eat the big fruit and your bigness lasts longer than 4 hours, please call a doctor.
That kind of medicine doesn't work for your nuts, though. It's the other thing.
Oh, man.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Also, really quick note. So, at this point in the series, Luffy has 8 crew members up until Brook. He said earlier in the series that he wanted 10.
Yeah.
Well, Blackbeard, with his original 4 members, plus Shiryu, plus these 4 inmates, Blackbeard's now sitting at an even 10 members of his pirate crew. And we know that Blackbeard and Luffy are kind of these opposites. That's how they were introduced back on Jaya. In Mocktown, I think it was. And so you could start, theoretically, kind of scratching your chin and pondering, like, obviously, Van Augur is a sniper, so that would match up pretty well with Usopp's skills, and Doc Q is a doctor, so that would probably match up with Chopper. But you get a couple of other more questionable areas, especially since especially since Oda prefers to have women fight women. There's only one woman on Blackbeard's crew right now, so who would Robin and or Nami fight?
See, at that point, it would, like, really add up to because, like, man, I already forgot her name. I was about to say Cruella de Vil.
Oh, Katarina Devon?
Yeah. Her whole thing is that, like, you know, she hates women that are, like, prettier than her, basically. So it kind of sets her up to be, like, either Robin or Nami. Like, it really doesn't matter.
Sure.
Which of them they go up against. So it's, like, more contingent on, like, based on the whole archaeology or navigatorness of, like, some other character. Like,
okay, I see.
I feel like that's where the matchup would lie.
Sure. Alternatively, you know that game that you play in the pool where, like, one person gets on another person's shoulders and it's like jousting? Nami and Robin will stand on top of each other and fight Katarina together.
I don't think Oda would do this because it is very visceral imagery, and it's also a lot more boobas than I think his editors would be comfortable with. But, so, like, Robin can just make more torsos. But do you think that means she can, like human centipede herself?
Now listen. Yes, I do think that. But I don't think you should say it.
You're not wrong. I agree that I should not have said it. But
now, every time I think about Ultimate Wife Robin, all I'll be able to think about is human centipeded torsos.
Like, that's like, but think of the boobas.
There would be so many.
So many boobas. That's my only defense, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. You're doing your best, Franz, and I think that's beautiful.
Thank you.
One other little quick note. We find out why the Gates of Justice opened for Luffy when the ship came towards Marineford. It turns out that Lafitte, as he was leaving to go infiltrate Impel Down with Blackbeard, hypnotized several of the guards at the gate opening room, the control room. And I think that's really interesting because what level of hypnotism is Lafitte capable of? Like, how... when he becomes an enemy, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Blackbeard is clearly set up as, like, endgame antagonist. Mm-hmm. But how well can he use that to fight people? Could he hypnotize Nami to stab Sanji or something like that? Or is there, like, a certain level that he can't hypnotize you?
It's like Jedi mind tricks. It only works on the weak-minded.
Oh no, Usopp! Please, no, Usopp, be okay!
Yeah, I feel like it would definitely be along the lines of, like, Jedi rules. If it like, because he can't just always do it. Like, that would, like, I think he could get Luffy with it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We've seen that Luffy's very susceptible to those kinds of tricks.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Imagine if he and Django end up having the ultimate face-off, though.
So, Lafitte versus Django, but also the battle takes place on battlegrounds painted by Miss Golden Week.
Oh.
So their moods are influenced and all that sort of thing, too.
Okay. This could be a whole sport. Emotional basketball?
At that rate, it just becomes... It's like the Davy back fight, just with more comparable enemies.
Yeah, exactly. I love it.
Oh, that sounds amazing. So, Lafitte can hypnotize people. We saw at Impel Down that he has wings now. Are those related, or was hypnotism just a subset of him being a clown, and the wings are just some other thing?
I assume different. because I can't think of a winged creature that's known to be hypnotizing. I mean, maybe there's an animal that has a hypnotizing pattern or something, but it just seems like that's just like a skill you would practice, like Zorro's swordsmanship or Frankie's building.
I do believe there's like an association with owls and hypnotism.
Okay.
So I'm not saying it's like for sure a thing, but it's what I can. It's the first thing that really comes to mind. A good example of it is in Monster Hunter Generations, I believe. The Malfesto or something was the monster. It was like a giant owl that just hypnotizes you, and when it hypnotizes you, you have to control your hunter opposite.
Okay, that's very interesting. Also kind of fits with Hoot Hoot from Pokemon, which is more my area of expertise. So yeah, maybe he ate the owl fruit, and that's related to his abilities. Given Blackbeard's interest in the powerful devil fruits, I wonder if he would allow Lafitte to eat a quote-unquote common devil fruit. You know, like, here's the pigeon fruit, you can have it. No. It's gotta be the legendary golden sphinx devil fruit. That's all. My crew only get mythical or rarer.
Legendary, don't you mean Densetsu?
I'm Buggy. I'm a legend.
Oh man, I gotta be honest. The more of this nonsense we get, the more Team Buggy I am on.
I love him so much.
Yeah, he's dreadful, but he doesn't care. And I think there's something really beautiful about that. Like, he has one goal, and that's it. He's gonna go chase that goal, and his goal is to get riches.
And that whole Captain John stuff. That's about it.
Yeah. Well, and even that is related to his get riches goal, right?
True.
Yeah, I actually, I wrote down a quick note on Cats and I Scratchpad. I've come around on the dumbass Buggy segments because it's almost like you're waiting to see how he'll fail into a higher position. You know?
Constantly.
He says, I'm going to kill Whitebeard, and I go, okay, so how is he going to mess that up? And how is it going to be spun so that his crew of weirdo prison people think that he's greater than he actually is?
It's so, like...
For sure.
And the fact, like, his whole time, like, everything that's ever happened to him, and everything that will ever happen to him is just him failing up. It's so good. Like, John and I have a joke that, like, if I were to tell right now, would be completely bleeped out because it includes several things that, like, several nuggets of lore that have not and are nowhere near being mentioned. But one day, Buggy will get there.
One day, Buggy's ship will come sailing in. I gotta say, on the topic of Buggy failing upward, I don't think Oda did this on purpose. I think that it was just supposed to be like a funny joke, a lighthearted break from all the serious stuff that was happening. But if he did do it on purpose, it's brilliant how this is a perfect example of how people behave when a dearly held belief is challenged. So Buggy rescued these prisoners, kind of, sort of, right?
Right.
He got them out of Impel Down, so they have trauma bonded to him hard. Like, much harder than they probably should have. And he keeps failing, and every time he fails, they have to confront this internally and think, is my savior, who I am attached to, who I believe is pooping gold out here, right? Is he actually an idiot who doesn't care about me at all? And every time they're going to come to the conclusion, no, there must be a more charitable way to spin this. Let me see what I can come up with. And so that cognitive dissonance, I think, is really, it makes it funnier for me. I don't know about you guys.
So, not to be too much of a negative Nancy, but I don't think I enjoyed watching the anime specifically because of how much time it took to get like the whole peanut gallery's opinions, you know?
That's true. Yeah. The anime really struggles there.
And so because of that, I did have a bit of an issue with it because like they were like constantly chiming in, but like there's like some moments where it really is like magical, like especially like when Buggy is like on camera for the first time, the whole thing where he's just yeah. like, oh, like it's stuck on the whole I'm a legend thing, and like the guy behind the camera was like, oh, okay, you're just saying the same thing here, like let me ask you some leading questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you mentioned, I think I know where you were going with this joke, and maybe I was way off, but you mentioned kind of an ongoing joke related to Buggy. So one of the favorite quotes we wrote down was from Gold Roger talking to Whitebeard, and he says, "The government calls me Gold Roger, but that's not my name. My name is Gold D. Roger." And so, of course, the fandom took this and they ran with it as, well, anybody could have the D now.
Yep.
He's not Buggy the Clown. He's Buggy D. Clown.
I love it's not the joke I was mentioning, but it is evergreen for me. To the point of like borderline believing it. Irony is the slippery slope to being very genuine, kids. Be careful.
Everything I have ever loved, ironically, has always become real.
Yeah, no, like, I play Destiny 2 a lot. I'm in a clan with a bunch of, like, Zoomers. Love them. And I'm not the oldest person in the clan, but I'm the oldest active person in the clan. So I'm, like, not entirely out of touch, especially because I don't live in America anymore. I have like no like real touchstone other than these guys, and like I shouldn't say guys, they're like literally all trans girls, and so what's really like funny is like they'll come up and be like, oh yeah, they'll start like saying stuff and I'll be like, what is this? What are you saying? Like, come on, y'all, help me out. What are you saying? So that turns into me doing it, ironically. And then weeks down the line, whatever they're doing, I'm doing it full genuine.
Yes, oh my gosh, and it happens every time. It's so hard to keep up with the youth. Have you heard the sheesh thing?
That's specifically what I'm talking about, actually.
Yes! Oh my gosh, so my sister sent me a video where she got my parents to do that. And she was like, watch this. It's the funniest thing ever. And I watched it. And I had to watch it like 3 times. And I finally called her and I was like, what am I watching? I don't understand why this is funny. And she goes, well, it's a meme. And I went, okay, can you explain it? And she went, no, it's a TikTok meme. Okay, thank you. Very funny joke.
Incredibly productive. Thank you.
But I'm amazed that she got my parents to do it, because usually they're like, we're not doing any of your dumb Zoomer shit.
That's so funny. Like, because like the whole sheesh thing, like at least in my circle of friends, it started because like a lot of them work like around Zoomers, because like, you know, like my friends, they all work in like city kind of like municipality kind of jobs, or like they work at like supermarkets, etc. And so they were one day just talking about like these Zoomers, man, they just like say this sheesh thing. I don't get it, but they're just going sheesh this, sheesh that. And then we started doing it, and then I talked to my clan, and then I was like understanding it more, and then like now John and I were just like sheesh the whole time. Like we're on side. The only aspect of this whole thing I didn't know, because it came to me in an audio only format the whole time, is that there's like a gesture that goes along with the sheesh.
Yeah, it's like 2 fingers up against your forearm. It's very specific.
Right. I downloaded TikTok again like a week ago or something because
you damn fool.
You're so right, but like I'm unemployed. I have nothing else to occupy my brain, you know. It's just a semblance of, it's not real dopamine, it's a semblance of it. So
a copy of dopamine.
Exactly. and I started seeing this gesture and I'm like, has this always been an aspect of the sheesh thing? I'm confused.
So I have no idea where the actual sheesh part came from, but the gesture comes from some basketball player who will like point at his veins to be like, I've got ice in my veins, because he's cool under pressure. One of my Zoomer friends explained it to me the other day.
Oh, okay.
That was pretty much how I responded too.
Like, you know, I don't know. Something feels like weird having like, oh, just a baseball player. Like, that's it. That's what it is. That's what got the Zoomers all riled up and sheesh this, sheesh that. You know?
I love that you sound like a grandparent right now.
Because the thing is like, I really am sorely out of touch. And I'm like barely in touch with Japanese youth is what it is. Because like having lived here and like only interacting with Japanese youth for so long, it's the only like touchstone that I have. Like I can be timely. I just don't have access to Western youths.
Oh dear.
That sounds pretty strange, and I think I'm gonna steer us back towards one last final discussion question before we sign out for the night.
Sure.
Well, okay, actually I got two. One's a quote, and I love it so much. As soon as okay. This is the danger of having too many tabs open, folks.
Mood.
Whitebeard is fighting Blackbeard. By the way, doesn't even flinch when Blackbeard's like, I've stolen your devil fruit, and Blackbeard just goes, have a knife right in your shoulder. This doesn't faze me. But he's monologuing to Blackbeard, and he goes, it's not you, the man Roger is waiting for, it's not you, Teach. And Blackbeard goes, well, what, Roger's still alive? And Whitebeard continues, and someday in the future, carrying hundreds of years of history on his shoulder, someone will fling down the gauntlet in front of the world. Sengoku, you, and the world government are afraid of the gigantic war that will embroil the whole world one day. When someone finds the treasure, the world will turn upside down. That day will come. One Piece is real! What a legend. You know, not only are we introduced to Whitebeard and we're kind of told about his influence and we see the way that his crew respects him, but he decides that he's going to use his last dying breath to inspire more pirates to go out in search of this treasure.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I've been talking from the beginning of this set of episodes. I don't remember if I brought it up last week, but I really think Whitebeard came here to die. I think that he wanted to go out on his own terms, he wanted to go out in a very public way, and he wanted to go out saving one of his sons, because his sons are the most important thing in the world to him. So, he already planned to die, and he had the opportunity to use his death in the same way Roger used his death to inspire the next generation, and he just took it.
Like, you know, there was a whole thing where, like, Akainu was, like, talking about, like, oh, like, Whitebeard has always been second best, played second fiddle to Gold Roger. But this is literally, like, another moment, not saying that it's bad, of Whitebeard, like, looking over and, like, copying Gold Roger's answers. But it's a damn good answer.
Well, absolutely, and we got a flashback of them talking in a place with sakura blossoms. That might be important for theory crafting. But they clearly were talking, and this is when Roger was like, my name is Gold D. But he also is like, hey, do you want to know the story? Do you want to know this old story related to the D initial? And so I think that if Roger had a reason for announcing the One Piece as he did when he died, Whitebeard would know that same reason, and he is also inspired to try and make whatever thing is going to happen by using his death in that way. And, like, awesome. Yeah, that's kick-ass, man.
A really beautiful thing. The whole inspiration of it all. To me, this is why I chose this, because, like, it goes with the whole, like, it's the bookend, the end of the era. Now it's the era of those that follow, Luffy and his compatriots.
For sure. So the last thing that I want to talk about, this will be our final thought. We don't have any thoughts from the crew this week, but Blackbeard manages to kill Whitebeard, and probably only because of all the damage that Whitebeard had taken, and because Whitebeard was getting old. But after Whitebeard dies, Blackbeard throws this black curtain over Whitebeard. He gets underneath the curtain. His crew is like, all right, nobody come near or we'll give you a knuckle sandwich. And when Blackbeard comes out, he uses his yami yami, no mi, his darkness powers from one of his hands, but then with his other hand, he causes an earthquake. He has somehow taken Whitebeard's fruit. And last quote that I have written down here, some no-name member of the Whitebeard pirates was like, if I'm correct, it's impossible to have two devil fruit powers at the same time. And Marco says, it's impossible for average people, that's for sure. But Teach is a little different, as you guys know. His body structure is irregular compared to common people.
He's built differently, literally.
Oh, no. Oh, gosh. How I wish that could be our final thought. That's so good. So Teach, we already knew there was something wrong with his body or something different about his body.
Jinbei mentioned it in Impel Down, yeah.
Yep, they mentioned it in Impel Down, and then even back when Luffy and Zoro spoke to him, Zoro said something about not him, them.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there's this whole thing, like, there's this whole thing about him that, like, people don't know if there's, like, a duplicity to him, or another nugget that people have, like, held on to is him being from, like Blackbeard never having slept or something.
Yep, absolutely.
It's something that was, like, mentioned before this, but the first mention of, like, people who don't sleep built differently is actually Dr. Kureha in Drum Island.
Yep.
Because she apparently also just doesn't sleep. And, like, if you look at her, she's like, you know, she's young, hot, and 160 or something. She's built differently, clearly.
Yeah, absolutely. So I believe it's Luffy and Sanji are talking, and Luffy says something about, like, did you know that people born on winter islands don't sleep? And Sanji goes like, that's impossible. This is while they're being attacked by the rabbits or whatever. And then in SBS showed Blackbeard as a child, and I believe that you could see, like, snow in the background, and it was nighttime, and Blackbeard was crying, and so they thought maybe Blackbeard is tortured because he can't sleep, and that's caused him to go insane. But I personally don't understand how that would affect the two devil fruits things.
Right.
So I really do enjoy the duplicity thing, like you were saying. There's two main schools of thought that I'm aware of. There might be more, but
there's definitely more, but the main ones.
The two big ones, yeah. One, Blackbeard ate the mythical Cerebus fruit, which allows him to eat 3 different devil fruits, one of each kind. The Cerebus is the Zoan, the Yami Yami is the Logia, and Whitebeard's Gura Gura is the Paramecium.
Evidence for this includes the plural pronoun and then also Blackbeard's flag.
Right. It's a very, like, prominent thing.
Right, which is 3 skulls, which is kind of an odd choice. The other idea is that Blackbeard his mom was pregnant with twins, and it's a real scientific phenomenon, chimerism, where, like, one of the twins eats the other or, like, absorbs them. And so maybe he actually has 2 souls or 2 personalities, and maybe each one of them can have a devil fruit or something.
Yeah, I'm going to toss a third potential theory out there. And I was thinking about this during these episodes. We know that the world government is effing around to find out, right?
Absolutely.
And they've been doing human experimentation with, for example, I I wanted to call him Teach. That's not his name. Kuma. They did experimentation on Kuma. So I wouldn't be surprised to find out that Blackbeard's body is wrong because the government experimented on him and his island.
It's definitely, like, possible because, like, Vegapunk having the ability to put a dog in a gun, though it was the dog fruit, he's basically put a dog in a gun and an elephant in a sword. That is enough, I feel, to possibly indicate and like give credence to some kind of experimentation theory.
Yeah, well, and if Blackbeard had somebody else put inside of him or something else, right? That could even explain the not sleeping thing, because if there are two people, one of them is always going to be awake.
True.
So.
Huh.
I think there's also some people who have pointed out the idea of multiple personalities because it seems like in some cases Blackbeard is incredibly like happy-go-lucky, but in other places he's really ruthless. In some places he is willing to fight, but in other places he's a coward. And so that could also be like, maybe there's a side that is like vengeful and another side that's like, ooh, so
that's a
or
very
something.
good point.
Yeah, could be for real. Do you guys want a fun piece of King of the What Now trivia?
Oh, sure.
So Blackbeard's flag is actually my favorite pirate flag of all the pirate flags there are in One Piece. And so when I offered to design the podcast logo for Joel, I specifically modeled it after Blackbeard's flag.
Oh, nice.
Uh-huh.
It's a good choice, too.
Thank you. Do you have a favorite flag before we sign off?
I think it would be Chopper's, because the whole like Sakura motif.
Chopper's is
really,
very
really
cute.
love it.
You're right. What about you, Joel?
You're just putting me on the spot. From what I remember, I really like the way Robin's looks, because I think she gets the cowboy hat and then also extra arms behind it.
She does get the cowboy hat, I'm pretty sure.
It's so weird that she had that iconic hat for one season and then it just went away, one arc.
Please give her the hat back, Oda.
We miss this cowboy goddess.
But, yeah, I think it's going to be that one, or it's going to be the smile with the line through it that is Doffy's.
The Doffy flag, absolutely. And that has been your...
Doot, 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 doot. Final thought. Outro goes here. Thank you for joining us, Franz. Next week, we will not be having a guest because we are all tuckered out having to talk to people over the internet.
Franz, really quick, could you tell the people where to find you?
Can I? That is a good question.
I believe they said the abyss earlier. In the episode.
So if you just like close your eyes,
go in any dark place.
You know, if you close your eyes and like don't actually do this. Push your eyeballs a little bit. Like, you know how like usually you'll see like white fuzzy stuff. Instead, like after I'm actually just like an infovirus. Like I'm a cognito hazard. So now that you've heard my voice, if you like push your eyeballs in, don't actually do it, you'll see me instead.
You're
just
gonna
there,
be
smiling, double finger guns.
You're gonna be like the new Slender Man urban legend.
But it's just like me in a Hawaiian shirt and like very, very small like glasses, like sunglasses, and just like finger guns.
Oh my gosh, now I'm imagining Leorio from Hunter x Hunter. I don't know if that's what you look like, but that's how I'm going to imagine you for a while.
I do own sunglasses that size.
Amazing.
But like I am a much bigger person than that. And so it makes the glasses look even smaller.
I love that. That's fantastic. But you have one of the best Twitter ats in the world. So if people wanted to follow you, they would find you at...
They Thembo.
They Thembo. Absolutely. And of course, ParameciaCast is your podcast.
Yes. Our podcast, Paramecia Fancast is the name. Too long for Twitter. Apparently, like, geez, Twitter. So we had to shorten it to ParameciaCast on Twitter. We're a little more active there. We retweet like a bunch of art, this and that, loads of talented people in the community. And, you know, every so often. The one caveat is, if you want to partake in the wild ride that is ParameciaFanCast, we are a manga, like week by week, the most recent manga podcast. So, if you're not caught up yet, yeah. Our first episode takes place around chapter 750, I think.
Oh, wow.
So if you hit around episode like 700 or so, you could start listening to us.
Absolutely. Well, as always, it's been a pleasure to have you on, Franz. You're always welcome.
Pleasure to be here.
And I think that'll about do us for today. As always, listeners, there will be links in the description if you want to check out any of the ways that you can get in touch with Franz. In the next One Piece, Mr. 3 activates his ultimate technique, Turtle Mode.
Can't get me if I'm in my little shell, rocking around, raising hell.
Ha-ha! What a great episode of King of the What Now, your One Piece podcast that started from the very beginning and stars these two doofuses. If you want to follow us on social media, Twitter is the best place to do that. I am at KotWN_pod.
And I am at Pirate Ghost Host.
Absolutely, yes. We share all sorts of thoughts on there, some related to the podcast, some related to other things. But you can also reach us through email at kingofthewhatpod@gmail.com, or you can also find us on Patreon. We would love some subscribers or supporters, whatever the technical term is. Patrons. So fancy and grown up. And you can find that at patreon.com/kingofthewhatpod. You can find all sorts of things like bonus episodes, and you get to see the full cold open candidates, not just the ones that make it into the episode. Maybe someday if I learn to draw, I'll put stuff up there. We're always looking for suggestions and feedback. And speaking of which,
please take a moment to rate and review our podcast wherever you get us from. So iTunes, Spotify, Scrivener, that's for writing. But wherever you listen to our podcast, take a moment to leave a review. It helps other people find us. We are so grateful to all of our listeners, and we couldn't do this without you.
Absolutely. Word of mouth is super powerful, so if you have a friend who likes One Piece and they haven't heard of us, just direct them to the latest episode. And if they hate us, they can tell us why. And if there's an actionable item, we'll try to please you. That's how this works. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.